and welcome. Tonight, after 5 months of negotiations and a 3-day public hearing, House of Representatives adopts a report of its Committee on Finance on the tax reform bills. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, accuses Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan of distorting facts and misrepresenting the Senate in the international arena. Former President Goodluck Jonathan advocates a whole-society approach in the fight against insecurity. And Russian President Vladimir Putin says that he has reservations about the 30-day ceasefire proposal for Ukraine as U.S. envoy arrives in Moscow.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's Finance Minister Wale Edun says federal government is set to cut down on its borrowing, targets increased private investments and optimizing assets as alternative sources for funding.
On sports, Frankfurt joins Lazio, Bodo Glimt in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Europa League as English sides Manchester United and Tottenham currently in action.
And from the nation's capital, Nigeria partners UK firm to tackle desertification as Vice President Kashim Shettima welcomes £250,000 donation to drive afforestation.
5 months of negotiations, a 3-day public hearing. Finally, a decision has been made on the much-debated tax reform bills. Well, as the House of Representatives has now adopted the report of its Committee on Finance on the bills, several amendments were made to accommodate all concerns as the bills were approved without any dissenting voice. Part of those amendments include the retention of value-added tax at 7.5%, the redefinition of the tax inheritance tax, and the distribution of value-added tax. The House also approved the proposal for the military to be exempted from personal income tax. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
As the legislative week gradually wraps up, lawmakers in the Green Chamber gather in scanty numbers for the final plenary session of the week.
Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members.
Straight away, other items on the order paper are suspended for what the Speaker describes as the most important issue of the day, the consideration of the reports of the Finance Committee on the very popular tax reform bills.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, by the leave of yours.
The first bill considered is the Nigeria Tax Bill, as the chairman of the committee highlights the key amendments.
In the amendment, the inheritance tax is defined as inheritance before distribution. Cannot be taxed before distribution. Reduction of VAT rate to 5% or alternatively maintain the current rate of 7.5%. The committee adopted the 7.5%. Recommendations for the reinstatement of contributions towards NASENI, NIDA, and a call to ensure continuous funding from the development levy. This, of course, was retained without sunset clauses.
The recommendations in the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill and the Joint Revenue Board Bill were also adopted.
The explanatory memorandum.
The final bill is the Tax Administration Bill with the most amendments, as highlighted by the chairman of the House Committee on Finance.
Distribution of VAT revenue. 50% to be distributed equally. 20% to be distributed based on population, 30% to be distributed based on consumption. Emphasis has also been placed on the actual place of consumption, irrespective of where the returns are filed. We proposed for our military men and women, especially those in war fronts, that in view of what they are going through, and there's no sacrifice that is too much. And we propose that their payee, personal income tax, they be exempted from personal income tax. If any company seeks to invest or you want to give tax credit to that person, you need to seek a National Assembly approval so that we don't continue to deplete our revenue and income.
I believe that what we have, honorable colleagues here, for those who are not members of this particular ad hoc committee, is the handwork of not a few, but of all. 36 members plus the regional and zonal caucus leaders. 100% consent and assent of all of them.
The new tax bills consequently will repeal several acts, including the Companies Income Tax Act of 1979, the Value Added Tax Act of 1993, the Personal Income Act of 1993, the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act of 2007, the Capital Gains Tax Act of 1967, as well as the Stamp Duties Act of 1939, among others. While other bills to be amended by the new tax reform bills include the Petroleum Industry Act, the Nigeria Export Processing Zones Act, the Oil and Gas Free Trade Zone Act, and the Nigeria Customs and Excise Tariffs Act, and more. The four tax bills now await third reading in the House and passage by the Senate before onward transmission to the President for assent. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Reactions are still trailing the allegations made by the senator representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. The latest one is coming from the man in the eye of the storm, the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Speaking during plenary today, Senator Akpabio criticized the lawmaker for trying to embarrass the upper chamber by distorting facts and presenting the misleading narrative to the international community. He acknowledged the intervention of the chairman of the House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development, Honorable Kafilat Obara, who addressed the session of the Inter-Parliamentary Union on the issue. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezuki reports.
The past 2 weeks in the upper chamber have been dominated by accusations and counter-accusations, shaping key developments within the Senate. As lawmakers reconvene for the final legislative duty of the week, they do so with a clear sense of determination to move on. In a matter of public importance, the Senate leader readdresses the controversy.
It's not about some men trying to gang up against a woman or anybody. It's about ensuring that our rules are respected, and we are not of the opinion that we are in breach of either the Constitution or any of our rules.
Senator Bamidele also addresses civil society organizations.
We have heard you so loud and so clear, but we need to concentrate on our work and let the court do their job, and we are doing this in order that we do not get distracted. We do not only stand united, we also communicate this by moving a vote of confidence in the Senator Godswill Akpabio leadership of this Senate.
Joining plenary shortly after, the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, acknowledges the gesture.
Whatever decision we arrive at here is unanimous. And I recall the last decision we took, and which concerned one of our sisters here, the senior Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. She has now externalized the matter by attempting to embarrass the Federal Republic of Nigeria by going to give a narrative at the IPU UN event, totally different from what occurred in the Senate, and she distorted the facts.
Separately, lawmakers commenced a debate on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025, seeking to introduce early voting in Nigeria's electoral system.
Over 1 million citizens who play critical roles in ensuring the smooth conduct of the elections are disenfranchised. These include INEC officials, ad hoc staff, the security personnel, including the police, the military and other security personnel, journalists, observers, and others who work on election day to uphold the integrity of the process are effectively denied their rights to vote.
But I think that the most important thing, Mr. President, is that if we can unbundle the voting arrangement, the voting process on election day, it will ease our work.
The bill subsequently scales second reading.
The Electoral Act number 13, 2022, to provide for early voting and elections, including criteria for eligibility, procedure at the elections, and for other related matters, 2025 second reading taken.
Meanwhile, the Senate has passed through second reading a bill for an act to establish the National Council for Traditional Rulers, seeking to accord them formal recognition, well-defined roles, and legal backing within the Nigerian constitution. The matter has now been referred to the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service to report back in 6 weeks. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In what appears to be a political discussion, the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, has met with the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, but neither of them clarified whether the meeting would lead to a potential political alliance. The closed-door meeting, which lasted for more than 1 hour at the Ramat House in Bauchi, was followed by a press briefing. Governor Mohammed expressed his readiness to work alongside Mr. Peter Obi to bring good governance to Nigeria and resolve the challenges. According to Mr. Peter Obi, the purpose of his visit is to engage discussions about national issues, consult with the governor, and explore ways to collectively address the country's challenges.
As we talk about the future of this country. All of you are aware where we are today, what is happening in our country and everything. And yet we have to discuss that. You have to discuss with issues happening in the North. Like I told the governor today, that the North is a critical component if we're going to get it right in this country. I'm a firm believer, and I say it and I preach it anywhere that I go, when people say to me, there's so much criminality in Nigeria, especially when people talk about the North, and I say, no, there's poverty in Nigeria. You have to deal with the issue of poverty. Until you solve poverty, you can't talk about criminality.
As myself, as a person, I'm ready to work with Peter Obi and to make sure we come together with close rank, we bring good governance to the country, we give vibrant opposition with knowledge, with timelines, with vision, in such a manner that we will rescue and recover our country from these mediocres that are parading themselves as leaders. Definitely, time has come when we must step out and we do things with fidelity, with sincerity and focus. And I think our coming together is a message.
Still on politics, with the general elections in just 2 years, the governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Duyediri, is asking the leadership of the party at all levels to work and resolve all internal crises and reposition the party to be a strong opposition party in Nigeria. Governor Duyediri made the call in Abuja on the sidelines of the inauguration ceremony of the 7-member caretaker committee for PDP in South-South. The committee, which was inaugurated by the National Working Committee of the PDP, is expected to pilot the affairs of the party until congresses are held to elect new principal officers in the zone.
We have to first of all fix our own problems. It's very easy for you to point accusing fingers at people from outside, but what is happening within us? And so the PDP has to sit back and then fix its own internal issues and challenges. That is only when you can stand up to compete with others. For me, I want the PDP to be competitive with other political parties. We are indeed the oldest political party in Nigeria, so we have no reason to be accusing outsiders. Let us look inwards and fix our challenges, and I'm sure by the time we do that, we will be out there to be very competitive.
In part 2, after the break, Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, says the economic policies of the President Bola Tinubu administration are beginning to yield results. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live in Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. After 5 months of negotiations and a 3-day public hearing, House of Representatives adopts the report of its Committee on Finance on the tax reform bills. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, accuses Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan of distorting facts and misrepresenting the Senate in the international arena. Former President Goodluck Jonathan advocates a whole society approach in the fight against insecurity. And Russian President Vladimir Putin says his reservations about a 30-day ceasefire proposal for Ukraine as U.S. envoy arrives in Moscow. We turn our attention to security now. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is advocating a whole-society approach in the fight against insecurity. He insists that the nation's security landscape still faces severe threats ranging from insurgency and banditry to kidnapping, communal clashes, and cybercrime. Speaking in Abuja at a one-day high-level roundtable on security and civil engagement, the former president says that security is a collective responsibility that requires the active participation of all citizens.
Thank you very much indeed. Please be seated.
The nation's security challenges continues to attract attention as the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation convenes a high-level roundtable on security and civic engagement in Nigeria.
And national security in Nigeria.
The conversation begins with the highlight of the focus of the roundtable.
Consensus on identifying and resolving issues that have marred this relationship between ordinary Nigerians and security agencies, particularly in the light of new and emerging technology. How do we navigate the whole issue of the Cybercrime Act and, of course, the economic landscape?
Issues of trust between the civil populace and security agencies remains a concern as former President Goodluck Jonathan advocates whole society approach to the fight against insecurity.
Today we gather again as stakeholders united by a common purpose to explore ways of addressing these pressing security challenges facing our nation and to seek innovative ways of fostering civic engagement as a tool for sustainable peace and development.
From the security agencies, the need for collaboration and building of trust is emphasized.
We are very, very interested in getting ideas that will help the Nigerian police force to find better ways of engaging the community and making policing easier for us. Our key interests remain improving the quality of service delivery that we offer to the community.
National security is the most effective when built on a foundation of trust, collaboration, and shared responsibilities between security institutions and the communities that they serve.
The roundtable, which is the second in the series, is coming against the background of rising insecurity, climate change, and fragile governance systems, which the foundation believes is undermining the government's ability to adequately provide for the security and welfare of Nigerians.
Away from security, the drop in prices of food items as well as the petroleum products is an indication that the economic policies of President Bola Tinubu's administration are beginning to yield results. Well, that's coming from the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, who stated this during the 4th edition of the 2025 Ministerial briefing featuring the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, and the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. Our correspondent Victoria Longjon reports.
It's the 4th series of the federal government's ministerial briefings, organized by the Ministry of Information and National Orientation. And this time, it's the turn of the Ministry of Education and that of Aviation and Aerospace Development. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, lifts the curtain on the day's proceedings, urging religious leaders to use the sacred period of Ramadan and Lent to pray for the peace and progress of Nigeria.
A nation thrives when its leaders govern with a sense of divine responsibility. And I assure you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu leads with the utmost fear of God, guided by the conviction that history will judge his administration favorably.
The Minister of Education is the first speaker, and he reels out some of the reforms in the sector.
We're adding vocational education to their majority, skills that they can learn quickly vulcanizing, plumbing, electrician. Kano has done a great job now registering these schools, so we know where they are. They've been given licenses. We can control, monitor, and intervene with the quality of education. We've seen the level of kidnappings at school has significantly reduced. We're collaborating with the NSA office, but with Safe School Initiative, we have a command center at the defense, the civil defense area. I won't name the exact place it is. That all our schools are meant to be linked to this center, so that they have rapid response team that will go just in case there's a program, and we have dedicated funding line to support our Safe School Initiative.
Next is the turn of the Minister of Aviation, who highlights some of the gains of the ministry, including plans to boost local airline operators.
We are happy to report that today that in bringing them back, Emirates did not only come back, but they have also entered into a code sharing agreement with one of our local operators, Air Peace. Today, very soon, that code sharing agreement will take off, and so you should be able very soon to, for example, buy a ticket from Calabar to Dubai directly. And so Air Peace will lift you from Calabar, bring you to Lagos, and then you board the Emirates proper. You go to one ticket, just one ticket. You go to Dubai, and when you come back, they drop you in Lagos. Air Peace picks you again to Calabar, one ticket. I set up a task force on curbing illegal charter operations last year. They sat for more than 6 months, and we brought some of the best hands in the industry. The president has given us a free hand to fight this menace. They cannot run to the president. The president will send them back, because the president is determined to do what is right. The Northeast have long been cheated. You have international airports in all the other zones. Why not Northeast? Northeast had not one international airport. And in line with the principle of this government, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, no part of this country will be cheated in terms of infrastructural development. The president gave full approval for us to upgrade Maiduguri Airport to a full-fledged international airport.
Every month we have what we call the FGN Connect.
The Information Minister also announced the introduction of a monthly magazine known as FGN Connect to keep Nigerians informed on government activities and encourage citizens' participation in governance and development. From Abuja, Victoria Longchan, Channels Television News.
From the nation's capital to Rivers State now, where the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has called for a truce in the political face-off between the executive and the legislative arms of government in the state. Speaking at the commissioning of the reconstructed Okorika Grammar School, Governor Fubara appeals for peace, asking all stakeholders to support his implementation of the Supreme Court ruling.
Okorika Grammar School, a historic institution in Okorika local government area in Rivers State, is set for commissioning. Established in 1940, the school, which has produced accomplished individuals in all spheres of life, had long been abandoned until April 2024, when its reconstruction was awarded by the Fubara-led administration. Managed by the Anglican Church, the school now features several renovated structures alongside newly constructed buildings, complemented by a 1.8-kilometer road network, an accomplishment that the presiding bishop and other stakeholders hail as a true celebration of history.
This moment is not just about the unveiling of infrastructure. It is a celebration of history, resilience, and the unwavering commitment of the Rivers State government to the advancement of education. Okorika Grammar School, founded in 1940, is 85 years old today.
Governor Fubara, visibly pleased to witness the transformation of the school under his administration, reaffirms his commitments to his core agenda: healthcare, education, and food sufficiency.
The key thing of this administration is healthcare, education, and food sufficiency, agriculture. So we immediately keyed into it. And to the glory of God, we're here today to unveil, to the glory of God, One of the things that we have done, even in the face or faces of this situation that we didn't bring upon ourselves. So I believe that when all the facilities that are put in place in this school is put into full use, the level of crime, the level of criminality will definitely reduce, not just in Okrika, but other neighboring LGAs that will still benefit from this school.
On the political crisis in River State, Governor Fubara appeals for peace, urging all stakeholders to support the implementation of the Supreme Court ruling.
The only thing that we owe this state is peace and development. I am open any day, anytime for total peace in our state. Because if I have to govern and govern well, there is need for peace.
As the project is commissioned, Governor Fubara is tasking the Anglican Church to ensure proper maintenance of the school's infrastructure and called on the Alumni Association to contribute to its continued development.
The Code of Conduct Bureau, the CCB, has asked Nigerians to key into the war against anti-graft and reporting public servants who live above their means. And in part two, after the break, Nigeria's Finance Minister Wale Edu says that federal government is set to cut down its borrowing targets, increase private investment and optimize assets as alternative sources of funding. And that's in Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back. The Code of Conduct Bureau, the CCB, has asked Nigerians to key into the war against graft by reporting public servants who live above their means, as this will help strengthen the integrity and accountability in government. The chairman of the CCB, Dr. Abdullahi Usman Bello, made this appeal today while on a courtesy visit to Channels Television's headquarters in Lagos. He stressed that the CCB is doing all it can to protect such whistleblowers. He also emphasized that the bill is to guarantee their protection by law and it is pending at the National Assembly. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shieli reports.
The Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, has the responsibility of establishing and maintaining high standards in the conduct of government business and enforcing the Code of Conduct for public officers as contained in Part 1 of the 3rd and 5th Schedules to the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. As part of efforts to achieve this mandate, the Bureau is partnering with like-minded organizations, and this visit to Channels Television is to seek the buy-in of the organization into its activities aimed at ensuring integrity and accountability in government. The chairman of the CCB, Dr. Abdullahi Usman Bello, and senior officials of the Bureau are received by the chairman of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, and senior management staff of the broadcast station. What follows is an interaction on key areas of interest, training and partnerships. In an interview with the station, the chairman of the CCB speaks further about the functions of the Bureau, particularly how it prevents crimes and monitors the activities of public officials.
Once you verify your asset at the beginning of time and you verify your asset at the end of time, then it's all right. But the only problem we have is people that fail to declare their assets. So what we have decided to do is that once you fail to declare your asset, then there is indication that you have something to hide. Then we can cause investigation into you. Because what we have been seeing is that people are not declaring the asset at all. And the people that are declaring the asset, they think they have been victimized. So we want to assure you now that we are not after you. Once you declare your asset, then you have complied with the Code of Conduct. The only problem is that if you fail to declare your asset, then we are going to come after you because you have something to hide. Otherwise, why are you not declaring your asset? One slogan that I want everybody to know is that you explain or you forfeit.
Breaches of the Code of Conduct for public officials are prosecuted at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT, which is a separate body from the Code of Conduct Bureau. The chairman of the CCB emphasized that likely punishment for breaches includes a ban from holding public office for a period of 10 years, removal from office, and even forfeiture of assets which cannot be accounted for.
You know this person is a public servant. and you know that this asset belongs to him, and you know that before he came into office, he doesn't have the asset, and you know that he couldn't have gotten that money from his public service, so you just report it to us. And that's why we are trying to build a portal where people can easily report cases of breach of code of conduct. So once they send it to us, then we'll be able to investigate it.
The CCB leadership also identifies funding as a major challenge, but with the recent increase in its budget under the Bola Tinubu administration, the CCB says it is committed to training and retraining its staff and personnel to also live up to the high ethics expected of public servants. The visiting team is shown around the facilities of the broadcast organization ahead of collaborations for public good. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
The news at 10 continues now as we head over to Abuja studios where Millicent Walker is standing by. Over to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Anne. Good to see you. We kick off with a proposed partnership between Nigeria and the United Kingdom's biotech firm to combat desertification, promote sustainable land use, and ensure long-term agricultural productivity in the country. Well, this formed part of the discussions during a meeting between Vice President Kashim Shettima and the management of the biotechnology company led by the 3rd Earl of Oxford, Lord Raymond Benedict Asquith, at the presidential villa. We head to some company news now. The first factory for the production of disposable syringes has been commissioned in Lagos. The facility has the capacity of producing 750,000 syringes in a day, and its owners hope to meet local demands and contribute to exports. This marks the state's first ever disposable syringe factory equipped with cutting-edge machinery and technology to produce high-quality sterile syringes that meet international standards.
In 2020, at the height of the COVID pandemic, right in the heart of Amuwo-Dofin Industrial Estate, Transgreen, braving all the challenges at the time, became the first face mask producer in Nigeria. Today, it is commissioning the sterile disposable syringes factory to fill the gap in the medical industry. Answering in the negative to the burning question, must Nigeria always import what it can produce?
Today, this facility shouts a firm no. It represents a new narrative where local production meets national demand and where healthcare and industry intercept for impact.
In 2023, Nigeria imported over $756 million worth of pharmaceutical products, according to the United Nations. For decades, the country has depended on imports for critical healthcare products. Bolstered by the government's order to federal hospitals to procure locally produced needles and syringes, Transgreen, with 180 staff and still employing, has the capacity to produce 750,000 O-Care syringes per day.
We encourage investors to seize this opportunity in Nigeria, in Nigerians' flourishing manufacturing and healthcare sectors. The success of this project paves the way for similar investments aimed at strengthening Nigerians' economy and improving healthcare access.
Before becoming a manufacturer in the medical industry, Transgreen, the owners of O-Care syringes, were the largest producer of optical discs in Africa by volume as of 2015. But changes in technology in audiovisual requires diversification. Today, the vision is to become a world-class manufacturer of medical consumables. Although the owners acknowledge government support, but like Oliver Twist, they plead for more.
He asks for Mr. Governor's intervention in making Alakoso Avenue, which happened to be the longest road that cuts across several roads in Amuwo-Dofin Industrial Cluster, motorable, with good drains and street lights.
Your message to Mr. Governor on Alakoso Street, like Esther, I shall mention it.
This light-hearted comment heralds a thrust of Mrs. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu's pitch. The wife of the state governor, a health professional herself, is confident the government will work at ameliorating the challenges.
Rest assured that this administration will continue to prioritize health sector improvements, ensuring that all residents have access to inclusive, prompt, efficient healthcare services.
The deputy governor, who represented the governor, also reiterates that the infrastructure problem will be solved.
Because you must strive and you must do well. Through strategic investment in infrastructure, power supply, policy reforms, we will continue to support initiatives that drive industrialization and economic growth.
On the O-Care syringes production lines are 2, 5 and 10 ml syringes, while it is working on expanding its production into 1 ml syringes, which is used for vaccination before the end of the year.
Well, staying with the company news, this time the telecom industry. One of Nigeria's leading telecom providers, Airtel Africa, is making bold moves to give its customers a safer and smarter digital experience. With the launch of its AI-powered spam alert service, the network is setting a new standard in protecting users from spam and fraud right from the source.
Also join me in appreciating.
When it comes to staying safe in a digital world, every second counts, which is why Airtel Africa is stepping up with the continent's first AI-powered spam alert service, a game changer in the fight against spam. This first-of-its-kind solution in Africa, starting here in Nigeria, is one that detects suspicious activity in just milliseconds and alerts customers in real time. So, how does it work? Airtel's AI scans hundreds of parameters in real time, things like SMS patterns, device behavior, and even robocall activity to detect and warn customers about spam before they fall for it.
This is a very important service for us, and at the heart of Airtel, there is a bit of social connect that we serve for the society. And this product is not a pricing product. It's not something which is around value or price, things like that. But I think it's more about protecting customers, keeping customers secure, safe.
And it's not just Airtel leading this charge. Government and regulators are backing this innovation too.
Solutions like Airtel's AI spam alerts reinforce the importance of leveraging artificial intelligence, not only for security, but also for economic empowerment. By deploying AI-driven innovations that protect users and build trust in digital platforms, Airtel is contributing to a safer, more prosperous digital economy, one where Nigerians can fully participate with confidence and security.
The AI-powered solution we're seeing today provides a much-needed layer of security using advanced technology to detect and flag suspicious messages before they reach consumers. The Airtel Spam Alert service is of obvious benefit to the entire sector. Security is one of the major challenges to subscribers, and such an innovative service from Airtel helps us tackle this issue while boosting consumer confidence.
There are no apps to download, no settings to tweak, and no extra steps. With this launch, Airtel Africa is automatically protecting all its customers right from the network.
Gentlemen of the press, 3 more seconds. Thank you.
I guess things just got more complicated for fraudsters. That's it from the nation's capital, and it's back to you for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Millicent. And now to more company news. Industry leaders, experts and key stakeholders from across the trade ecosystem are in Cape Town in South Africa for the Africa Trade Conference. Well, organizers say the gathering aims to bring together influential voices to shape the future of the trade on the continent, drive innovation, sustainability, strategic partnerships and inclusive growth. This year's conference is themed Empowering Africa Through Trade, Innovation and Sustainable Growth. Our South Africa correspondent Innocent Semusa reports.
The conversation here focuses on innovative trade solutions, sustainable practices, and strategies to expand markets. The key question remains, how crucial are partnerships and collaboration in unlocking Africa's trade potential to ensure inclusive growth that benefits all sectors of society?
If you look at the challenges that we face with trade in Africa, it's a couple of things. The first is around the lack of productive capacity in Africa. So what we do today is that we take cocoa, we take cobalt, we send them abroad and we get refined goods. We don't have productive capacity. How do we create an environment and financing to be able to actually take cocoa and make chocolate in Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire?
The executive head of strategy and investment, Access Bank South Africa, Yinka Yomi Tokosi, emphasized that Africa must drive discussions on policies and initiatives that empower women and youth in Africa's trade sector.
Africa is a population of about 1.5 billion people. However, we only represent 3% of global trade. So that means that there's a lot of opportunity for us to unlock. And a significant population of the continent is actually young people. So ideally for us to grow that is how do we ensure that we empower young people, and trade is a way. So for us at Access Bank, one of the things we've done is we've ensured that we're present across the countries, across the continent, in the key countries, and also in the key trade corridors in the world as well.
Dominique Fojo from Anglo-Ashanti echoes similar sentiments, highlighting the importance of inclusive trade policies.
It's all about we giving them the opportunities. There are some of the ways sometimes we think only men can do it. But when you give our youth and the women the opportunity, I think we can also help them in terms of how they can also help continentally in terms of trade.
Africa's trade future hinges on collaboration, policy innovation, and sustainable solutions. As stakeholders continue these critical discussions, the challenge remains in translating dialogues into action, ensuring that trade growth is inclusive, resilient, and benefits all Africans. From Cape Town, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
For more in the world of business, let's join Dominic Iwewu.
Thank you, Anne. Welcome to Business News. The federal government is gradually cutting its dependence on borrowing to fund budget deficits and will now focus on optimizing its assets and attracting private investments to drive economic growth. And this is according to the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun. Speaking today at a two-day high-level interactive session in Abuja on strengthening collaboration for sustainable financial management and national development, the minister says the move, which marks a significant departure from previous strategies, that heavily relied on borrowing to finance government activities. After 2 days of decline, bullish sentiments resurfaced in the domestic bourse as gains from some mid-cap equities caused a rebound in markets performance. Inijo Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, good news from Nigeria Stock Exchange. At the close of Thursday's trade, 82 billion naira is what was gained on the market cap. Even though we're still at 66 trillion, but that's safe. And it is 0.15% increase on the all-share index and still at 106,000. Look at the sectors now. Some of them in red. Banking, for instance, is down 0.31% because of Access, GT, UBA. But we have a savior in the consumer goods counter, 1.40, because of Honeywell Flour, as well as Nigerian breweries. Oil and gas, which we know has been suffering some profit taking for a bit, especially O&O. Well, O&O is back. Something has been happening to that share price for a bit, so it's up today, and it brings that counter up 0.05%. And look at the top trades. Those you would, normally not look at. Tantalizers is one of them, where Access Co, as well as Zenith. Perhaps want to look at Tantalizer. It's been on top trades for a bit, some days last week and even this week now. But the good news and the best part is that we have the bull back on the floor of the NGX.
And that's it on Business News. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. Let's now join Simon Puse with more for international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US officials are in Moscow to discuss a potential ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff arrived on Thursday morning to try to convince Russia to accept a 30-day ceasefire, which Ukraine agreed to earlier this week in talks with the US. Kremlin aide Yuri Ashakov said talks would amount to nothing more than a temporary respite for the Ukrainian military and a chance for it to regroup. The American visit comes as the Russian military claimed to have recaptured Sudza, a key town in the Kursk region that Ukraine invaded last year. President Donald Trump has threatened a 200% tariff on alcohol from EU countries, unless what he calls a nasty 50% tariff on whiskey is stopped. It's the latest escalation of a global trade war, which this week was ramped up with 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminium entering the US. Many people in and around the Italian city of Naples have spent the night on the streets and in their cars after an earthquake shook buildings and brought rubble crashing down. Italian seismologists said the 4.4 magnitude tremor struck on the coast between Pozzuoli and Bagnoli. The quake was felt across Naples and power supplies were disrupted in parts of the city.
Pushback at Sake came at a great cost.
South African leaders have announced they will pull their troops out of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where they have been helping the government fight rebel forces. The decision to start a phased withdrawal was made during a virtual summit of the 16-member South African Development Community. The troops were sent 2 years ago to support the Congolese army fighting the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels, but at least 19 soldiers from South Africa, Malawi and Tanzania were killed when the M23 captured the key city of Goma in January. South Africa has entered uncharted waters following deep divisions in the coalition government over the national budget that has finally been tabled after a month-long delay. This is the view of analysts after the finance minister's budget drew a backlash from various quarters, including key partners in the coalition government, rejecting his proposals for a second time. The African National Congress formed a government of national unity with 9 other parties after losing its parliamentary majority in elections last year. At least 53 inmates have escaped from Kutakane Penitentiary in Indonesia after breaking the main facility doors. Footage shows inmates running across the roof and jumping off vendors in the area as they flee. 21 of them have surrendered or been arrested, while 32 remain at large. The escape happened during breakfast when all inmates must queue to receive food. The incident is being linked to issues of overcrowding. A NASA SpaceX mission that aimed to clear the way for 2 stranded astronauts to get back to Earth has been postponed. The Falcon 9 launch from Florida's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station was put back due to a hydraulic ground issue. The next possible launch opportunity is on Friday evening. The rocket aimed to fly 4 crew members to the International Space Station and pave the way for the return of Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore.
Just caught a baby wombat.
And the Australian Prime Minister has criticised a US influencer after she stole a baby wombat from her mother.
Oh, chasing after her.
I got the baby wombat.
Sam Jones, who describes herself as an outdoor enthusiast and hunter on Instagram, was filmed picking up a baby wombat running across a road to a car while its mother ran after them.
All right, let's go.
The video, which was filmed in Australia, has since been deleted, and Miss Jones' Instagram account set to private.
It's just an outrage. Take a baby crocodile from its mother and see how you go there.
So if she ran away, that baby would not have known where to find mum again.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Re-elected President of the Confederation of African Football, Patrice Motsepe, is promising more attention will be given to the development of women's football across its 54-member association. Mr. Motsepe, while addressing the international media in Egypt, says, interestingly, his re-election falls on the International Women's Month with the theme Accelerate Action. Other stories now goes by Jean Mateo Bahoya and Hugo Ekitike, as well as Mario Götze Brace handed Frankfurt a 4-1 home win against Ajax. The German side progressed to the next stage with a 6-2 win over both legs. Lazio progressed 3-2 on aggregate against Victoria Plzen after a 1-0 draw. Atletico Bilbao beat 10-man Roma 4-1 to progress 5-3 on aggregate against the Italians. Manchester United is through 4-2 on aggregate thanks to a 3-1 win against Real Sociedad at Old Trafford. With our sports, I'm Kelly. Gigas, back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The House of Representatives today adopted the report of its Committee on Finance on President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills. The adoption is coming after 5 months of negotiations and a 3-day public hearing. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good night.